Okay, so let's take a look now at how we can make a nice, lush dub delay, really sort of deep sound, gives us a nice washy texture to accompany our stabs. I've started a new return, opened a new return, just called it dub here. And the first thing I'm going to do is right click and enable send B. I'm doing that because it's return B. And what I want is to be able to send this return back into itself. So the output will return back in, thus creating a feedback loop. Because we're using a feedback loop, the first thing that's going to go on here is a limiter. Whenever you're doing things with feedback, it can very quickly get out of hand and damage your equipment. And more importantly, it could damage your ears. So make sure you get a limiter on there first. Then what we want to do is grab a delay. So we're going to have a ping pong here. Pop that before the limiter. So all of our devices will go before that limiter. And I'm going to set this to 100% wet. And we'll crank the feedback up a little bit. Somewhere around the 70% will be fine. And on the dub delay, again, just sort of 3/4 of the way round. Just, at the beginning, it's just a starting point. You're going to have to tweak it depending on the sounds that you've got going in there and how the frequencies start to build up. So again, let's do a similar amount on the send of the dub stab. And let's hear what we get. So you hear the sort of feedback that I'm talking about building up. Now it's very static and it's not what we want. Let's just actually change this ping pong. We'll let a few more higher frequencies in and we'll just take a little bit of this low mid out. So we don't want this static build up of frequencies just stacking on top of each other. We want to add some movement. And the way to do that is with an auto filter. In fact, you can still hear this building up. Let's just turn that feedback off for a second, let it die down. On the auto filter, we're going to go for a band pass and just bring it down somewhere in your mid-range. Take some of the resonance down on that. Somewhere around there would work nicely. So again, the point of this is we're not going to be accentuating one particular frequency band at a really high amount. Instead, we're going for something quite gentle on here. And then we're going to add our movement using the LFO. So we're going to sync that to the rate of the track, and let's go nice and long, 8 or 4 bars, even 6 actually, something so that it's a slow sweeping filter. With the amount, don't want to go too crazy with this. I don't want this so that it's kind of ending up cramped all the way at the top and all at the way at the bottom. The idea is just to sort of have this moving around something like this. Okay, so we'll see. We might keep this out of phase. So the phase inside of auto filter, basically there are 2 LFOs working and 2 outputs to the filter. And when it's out of phase, the left speaker will be increasing the cutoff whilst the right speaker is decreasing it. So you get this alternate wobbling between the left and the right channel, which obviously gives more of a stereo feel. I'm not totally sure if I'm going to want that because we've already got the stereo coming out of the ping pong. So let's have a listen. We'll get that feedback turned back up and let's hear how it sounds now. So you can hear now that we're not getting that same build up of frequencies running through. So we're not getting that almost metallic feedback sound where it's sitting on top of itself. Now it is ringing on for a little bit too long. So what I'm going to do is just bring a gate in. This just brings us a little bit more control. What we do is bring the gate down nice and low. Have that return at 0. So effectively what's happening is when this delay goes below, we've got about 37 dB on here, anything around here be fine. When the delay sound goes below that, the gate will shut and no more audio will come through. We don't want it to be really abrupt in the way it shuts, so let's have a nice long release on that so that it gradually closes down and releases the volume of the audio. And And it just means that when I turn this off, it won't ring out for ages and ages. So another quick listen. You can see I've got this gate set way too low because it is interfering with some of the audio I've already got. So I'm going to bring it down kind of somewhere like this. Let's go again. So we've got a fairly long ringing out tail, and it's soon going to start getting, can see the gate beginning to kick in now. So for me, actually, probably could do with it being a bit higher, and then it's going to shut that off. So we don't end up with this just constant annoying ringing out all the time when we want this to stop. Last thing I'm going to do is just add something else to it that's going to be a bit more interesting, just to vary up the delay. I'm going to go and grab a beat repeat. In fact, inside of here, there's a nice subtle repeat preset. So this is called semi-subtle. For this, I'm going to increase the filter. We'll go with insert on here as well. So what this means is that as soon as the beat repeat kicks in, it cuts out the audio of the delay and instead will add the stutter of the beat repeat. Rather than have it mixed over the top of it, it's just going to give it an almost jerky, jolting type feel. So let's see what that does. Yeah, I think I'll keep that pitch delay off. We've got enough stuff going on already, and we'll keep this quite short. So as you can hear, it is a pretty subtle change that's happening, but it just, again, is adding a bit more movement and interest to the sound. Last thing I want to do is just chuck an EQ on in case we're getting any frequencies in here that we don't want. So we'll just tone down the thickness right at the bottom of the low mids there. And whilst we're at it, rather than have this repeat going all the time, let's just bring the chance down on this. So sometimes it plays and sometimes it doesn't. One more listen through, but I think we're there. Yeah, perfect. Very happy with that. So the secret to the dub delay is also the sound that you're feeding it. And at the moment we are, whilst we've got a bit of movement on the chords, we're feeding it a static sound. So we'll look at mapping up some macros in the next video so that we get some more interesting timbres going through the delay.